done. Intro. It's intro time. Shush. Everyone shut up. But, okay, so we're going to jump into our first story of the day, The Acolyte. We're jumping over to The Acolyte. The showrunners for The Acolyte are making the case that So review bombing has been something that's been happening to The Acolyte, and I'm not even convinced that it's review bombing so much as it is just
honesty.
And we reviewed the numbers last week when we were looking at the
14%.
Yeah, we were looking at the numbers. Yeah, it was at 14% on Rotten Tomatoes, but when we were looking at the numbers last week, it looked like there was an intense amount of 10 out of 10s and a very big amount of 1s out of 10s.
Yep.
But if you dismissed both of those categories, 2 against 9 was still crazy different.
Yep.
Yeah, there was still far more 2 out of 10s. And those, I think the 2s, 3s, and if you get rid of the 1s and the 10s, you're getting a lot more honest feedback, I think. But it's still such a huge difference in the reviews that you're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's review bombed both ways, positively and negatively.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the critic score, it's like, what, 90-something or whatever?
And then it was quite that high, but yeah, it was definitely higher than it should be. It was in the 80s, I think.
Whenever I look at Rotten Tomatoes, I just look at the audience score. It's like, you're probably in the same headspace that I am.
Yeah. So Leslie Headlamp, Harvey Weinstein's former secretary, is actually claiming that review bombing is, I think she said, over. It's done. Like, you can do it, but it's not affecting how Disney is interacting with their shows and with their creative projects. I don't believe that that's true. I think that they're lying again.
I do. I think Disney doesn't give a fuck about reviews. It's just the money and subscriptions you bring in at Disney Plus.
Sure, but this show is the lowest rated Disney project that I've heard of, and it's not getting a second season.
I found out what the most watched Disney Plus show was.
What was that?
Watched and subscribed to, quote unquote.
RuPaul's Drag Race.
It was She-Hulk, actually.
No way.
Yep. According to the people at Disney, or not like.
Okay.
Not like they put it out as a public statement, but like the internals at Disney are like, yeah, that was the best doing show.
I don't know how that could So okay. Assuming that it's just an absolute fact and that's what it is, I don't understand how that was possible. That's really weird to me that She-Hulk would be the one to break out of the mold.
Yeah, you think it would have been like the early ones, like WandaVision or something?
Yeah.
Or Loki, because that's the only one that got a season
would
2.
have been my guess. That's what I was thinking.
Loki, or even Loki, or even this show or a Star Wars project. Like Disney's highest performance is still like trash. On the average, it's still like a horrible project with a horrible story.
My guess would have been Loki, because that got huge. I didn't watch it. I wish I kind of did, but I kind of stepped off Marvel after Endgame. But
I'm in the same boat.
I've heard really good things about Loki.
I have too. I've heard really good things about Loki. First off,
I haven't.
You've heard no one sing its praises? Like, no one said a good thing about it?
Not really, no.
I mean, I'm not saying the reviewers have. And honestly, Loki kind of slipped under the radar. I think it got a few public addresses from the types of YouTubers we follow, but I think for the most part, it slipped by.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyone I talk to on a daily basis, I don't think watched it. So.
Yeah,
and I don't really trust their opinion when it comes to media anyway.
Fair.
They just slip under the radar, I guess. I don't know.
Well, She-Hulk was in the news, heavily in the news, because they were basically doing the same thing the Acolyte's doing, but just in a more showpiece kind of way rather than a storytelling.
Yeah, that one was a weekly release too, wasn't it? Or they released chunks at a time or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I'm pretty.
I remember it was in the news for a while, and if they dropped everything at once, it would have been gone. But
probably,
yeah. Slim, what is your take on Do you think that the show, The Acolyte, should have been binge model, just dumped it all,
They probably would have done better for them.
Yeah.
If I was Disney, yeah.
It wouldn't have been in the news this long and wouldn't be getting review bombed as bad, I don't think.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
could be doing better.
You could overanalyze every episode too.
Exactly.
It's to really nitpick the shit out of it.
Yeah, it's good for us, bad for Disney.
Yeah. Yes, do it more.
Yeah.
Do it.
I just don't think they give a crap anymore.
Fast track this.
I just don't think they care.
I think that
at Lucasfilm they don't. They're changing shit at Marvel though.
I think every time they have that they have someone come in and do a negative review like this, I think it does affect their internal workings, in a sense that the audience is your dollar. people are not following Star Wars anymore. This show is actually taking people out of Star Wars. It's doing what we all kind of expected it to do. I mean, it's really showing people, like, in bold letters, Disney does not give a shit about Star Wars. They don't give a shit about the storytelling. They don't give a shit about the universe. Everything in this project is meant to twist, manipulate, and just completely revert everything in Star Wars from its original purpose and messaging. And you know what? That's their hill to die on. That's perfectly fine. But the audience isn't here for it. You have all of the like the marketing material, the merchandising that they've wanted to push with this show, and it's falling fucking flat.
I think the whole goal is to just destroy it enough to where they can remake the OT.
Yeah,
they want to get to remaking the OT because those are the big name characters, and they're just gonna recast and instead of make their own stuff because their own stuff it's too hard.
The old, and I do like the old trilogy, but like, man, they are set in their ways. I do not think remaking that is gonna go well, even if they do a good job.
Might start a riot.
Even if they do a really, really good job, I don't think it's gonna go over well.
What do you think the?
You'd have to wait for like everyone that went to the theaters when those came out died.
You basically do, because you cannot. They're gonna remember what it was like, and it's nostalgia, and that's, I've said this before. That's why I like. Maybe it's because I grew up watching this, but the prequel trilogy I like better than the original trilogy, and I think it's nostalgia in both ways.
I think it's the same because I grew up with that one and then went back.
I went back and I watched the original trilogy. It's not as, it's good, but people put it on such a high pedestal, and I think it's nostalgia. And I probably do the same with the prequels. But that same mindset, it's going to be when if they remake it and they go into it, it's going to go horrible. People are going to remember what it's like to go into those movies, and they're going to want that. And even if it's good or even better, they're not going to like it as much.
Yeah, I remember we went to
Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, I was going to tell that story.
That is a core memory. I'll say with me.
That's such a good movie. That's my favorite, probably Star Wars movie.
It's my favorite too. But it had. What helped it is it had such a banger opening. Of just the two ships flying, and then they go down, and it's a big war. It's fucking insane.
It's real good.
Yeah.
They let George cook on that one.
He's cooking. He's cooking.
Do you remember, like, before the project released, when they were doing all the publicity to promote the show, Leslie Headlamp, Harvey Weinstein's former secretary, like, was
personal assistant.
Thank you. Personal assistant assisted the shit out of him. Personal assistant was asked, "What was your favorite Star Wars movie? Favorite Star Wars project?" And she said, "I love all the Star Wars."
Yeah, I don't have a favorite.
I love all.
I love all of them.
So
no. Everyone always has a preference.
Well,
in anything.
Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers was talking about this in one of the more recent videos he released, where he's like, you're not fandom if you're not adamantly engaging with these hypothetical questions. If you get a question like, what's your favorite Star Wars project or favorite Star Wars movie, and you just say, I love all the Star Wars, what kind you're not.
That says to me basically that you haven't seen all of them,
or you have no passion for any of it.
No passion.
It's how can you? So just to push this question onto you guys, Slim, what is your favorite Star Wars? And we can broaden it up. We can say what's your favorite Star Wars project, not necessarily movie, but what's your favorite project in total?
Thing.
Yeah.
The thing.
Is it Lego Star Wars?
Yeah, of course. I would say I'm not going to say Revenge of the Sith because that's just is clear my favorite. But
low hanging fruit.
It is.
Yeah.
So I would say kind of the next couple things would be I really like the animated series. The Clone Wars and the Bad Batch are probably a couple of my favorite things. Just so much character development, and they really brought alive the war.
Yeah.
So I really like that. And then the Phantom Menace I really like too, just because of Darth Maul and the Duel of Fates.
Yeah, true.
It's so good.
My answer might change your mind. I'm gonna go with the KOTOR 1 and 2 and the Old Republic stuff.
Okay.
That's my favorite era.
That's good too. I love KOTOR. I beat that game 6 times. I really like that game.
I know.
Yeah,
that
I've been playing the shit out of
good.
the Old Republic, the MMO one right now. It's I gotta figure out to see how many hours I have in that game because I bet it's thousands.
Well, you buy it. You got it on Steam, right?
Nope.
No.
Nope. Bought it straight from the website.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how you would find that out then.
Right. But I mean, movie Revenge of the Sith. The best made movie though is Empire Strikes Back.
That's a good one too. That's probably my second or third favorite movie because it's the Revenge of the Sith, the Phantom Menace, and then the Empire Strikes Back are all up there.
I've probably seen Clone Wars the most though, but it's not even close to.
It's not
So
as good.
Clone Wars for me feels like a cutscene in the prequel trilogy. It feels like a cutscene in the sense that like all of the story could be summarized into a paragraph, which
Kind of, yeah.
and it's like Anakin is like secretly in love with Padme, and meanwhile this war starts.
Meanwhile,
I'm probably being a little bit unreasonable considering. I mean, you could probably do that with all of the Star Wars, but
I really wish they went more in depth on Count Dooku. He has such an awesome backstory.
Yeah.
In the animated series, and then he got his own thing in the Jedi Tales.
Tales of the Jedi.
Tales of the Jedi. And gosh, he has such.
Back when he was still a
so
Jedi
interesting.
And,
he's like, I
Qui-Gon's
just want the
master.
best for the Order, and I can see how corrupt they are, and it's just so interesting.
Yeah, and he's just fighting for other planets' freedom.
Yeah,
I think
and it's he had so many good valid points. I wish they went more back on it.
Count Dooku did nothing wrong.
No,
Count Dooku
no.
Yep,
He had
I'm
a
with
great
it 100%.
mindset, and like he was kind of correct. He just
Stumbled
went on
upon
a
the way.
bad way.
Well, and he never
That's what
became
happens when you're, buddies with the Dark Lord.
Yeah.
well, and he never became like a full Sith, like
No.
in the sense that like he turned completely to the dark side. His eyes turn yellow, and he becomes like
There's
fully
one
engulfed in
scene.
the.
One scene in the animated where
I
his
remember
eyes
that.
turned yellow.
Yeah, I didn't catch that.
So he was fighting Anakin when like Jabba the Hutt, they stole his son. So there's like this whole mission, and then Anakin got the son from him and gave him to Ahsoka, and he got away, and then he got like super pissed. And the only time his eyes turned yellow is because he went like on a full, because his lightsaber style is defensive and like an art form. He's like style 5 or something. I forget.
Yeah, that's how to
exact.
keep
But
track of him.
he went on full just attack, and it was really cool to watch. And it's the only time in canon where his eyes turned yellow.
He is one of my favorite characters.
So good.
When it comes to Star Wars projects, I would probably say that, like Phantom Menace in my mind is really just an awesome piece of like the Star Wars universe. I get pushback on this one, but I would remove the entire 30 minutes of pod racing.
Oh, I agree.
That 30-minute
Spends
chunk.
a long time on
It's
it.
too much.
Well, I ran the numbers. It's almost exactly 30 minutes.
It's even like, not to like get off that subject, but in the new trilogy, just as bad. Get rid of that race scene. Who cares?
It's like I don't think we need this. I don't think NASCAR plus Star Wars is really a crossover that we can get.
Well, make it 10 minutes. That's fine.
Right.
Half hours.
Yeah,
I mean, in KOTOR 1, you can go on this whole racing circuit.
Yeah.
But in
I remember that.
But in the Phantom Menace, I've made this point before on the channel where I think like some of the best directing of almost any film comes in the story of the Phantom Menace when
In
you
the
have
climax, yeah.
in the climax where you have the Duel of the Fates, the battle of
So
the battle
good.
for Naboo, the battle for the palace, and the Anakin in space.
4 fights going on at one
Simultaneously, perfectly. I don't know if choreographed is the right word. I think it is, but yeah, you have it perfectly
Very well
synchronized between all these moments. Every one of them is getting their due, and you have like a major character. Jar Jar Binks, maybe arguably not a major character.
I would say one of the most important characters in all Star Wars.
Yeah.
Misa.
The reason that works so well too is because it's so smartly directed, because every scene is so different. There's space, there's a palace, there's an open grass field, and then there's like a reactor.
Right.
None of them look alike. So even if you don't know Star Wars that well, you can follow it
Well,
a bit better.
And in the Acolyte, to tie it back to the Acolyte, every scene in the Acolyte looks like it's shot in the same exact place. Like you have desert, you have like urban desert city,
Dark forest,
mountain, or cliffs by a pond.
Yeah.
Like you have cliffs
It's
by
so
a pond.
tough to tell.
They reuse a bunch of shit,
do.
which I don't even know why it cost $180 million and $22 million an episode.
I was watching a review guy, and he's like, well, how's this cost so much money if every scene is shot in the same studio?
And nothing happens whatsoever. I'm sick of Disney like basically coming up with like an idea for an hour-and-a-half movie, or someone coming up with an idea for an hour-and-a-half movie, and it's like, no, we're gonna stretch it into 8 episodes and we're putting it on
8
our streaming
hours.
service.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? There's not enough material for this.
There wasn't.
In this last episode, nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
Well, we had the sexy pond scene.
Yeah, Asian dude gets naked.
Classic Asian dudes getting naked.
I mean, if I looked like that, I'd probably be naked.
He probably requested it. He's like,
He probably
Take my shirt off for this?
grab a
Come on.
small leaf and hold it over.
He's Asian and he just came out of a cold pond.
It's like it's inside me. It's inside. Retract like
Yeah,
a
but there's
what?
only 2 episodes left, and it's like, what the fuck are they even gonna do? There's
I
gonna
don't
be
know. Give up.
another flashback scene, which might take a whole episode. to get the real story and why the Jedi are bad or whatever,
They bad.
and why Tomlin deleted himself for no reason.
Oh, that's right.
Classic.
I forgot that happened.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's been so long.
oh my goodness.
It's like 5 weeks ago.